Hello, here the morning news. Venezuela's National Assembly approved a measure that allows President Nicolas Maduro to act against the threats made by the White House. Venezuelan president visited the country's parliament as lawmakers debated an enabling act of which the leader says will preserve peace and defend the country against any imperialist aggression. According to the Bolivarian constitution, 60% of legislators must approve the law. Maduro declared support for Venezuela after the U.S. government's declaration of the South American country as a threat to national security. He said his government will continue with planned election this year in spite of the U.S. aggressions.
Pido a Dios protección.
I ask God for protection. If major events shake our country, whether I'm alive or not, the order is rain or shine. Parliamentary elections will happen this year, whether the empire wants it or not. We are going to parliamentary elections and let the people decide what will happen in this country. And we will go into it with the same position as always. If we win, win. If we lose, lose. That's it. Democracy, peace, and constitution is what we want.
Meanwhile, foreign ministers from South America's regional body will plan a meeting for next week to address the U.S. declaration against Venezuela. Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa told a press conference that foreign ministers from countries of the Union of South American Nations, UNASUR, will meet in Montevideo in order to prepare a heads of states meeting that will respond to the U.S. declaration of Venezuela as a national threat. Correa blasted the Obama administration's move.
Thursday, in Montevideo, the foreign ministers of UNASUR will meet to prepare a summit of heads of state next week to provide an appropriate response to this grotesque, illegal, shameful, unprecedented, and unwarranted interference by the United States in Venezuela's internal affairs.
More news. The Colombian government has made an important step towards a bilateral ceasefire, stating that it would stop bombing the country's main rebel group for 1 month. President Juan Manuel Santos said the decision is in recognition of the unilateral ceasefire declared by the guerrillas last December. The Colombian government has repeatedly refused the rebel offer for a two-way truce while peace talks are underway. But recently, Santos showed signs of reconsidering, now saying this short-term truce will allow his government to observe the impact of ceasefire.
And to boost the de-escalation of the conflict, I have decided to order the Ministry of Defense and commanders of the armed forces to stop bombings over FARC camps for a month. After that time, we will review the implementation of the unilateral ceasefire by the behalf, and according to the results, we will decide whether to continue with this measure.
Also in Colombia, Tuesday, an earthquake registering 6.6 on Richter scale shook the northern and central departments of the country. Reports say the quake was also felt like in the major cities of Barranquilla, Cartagena, and Bogota. Many of the buildings were evacuated, but no injuries or deaths were reported. And the Iron Mountain Company is being investigated for a fire at its Buenos Aires facilities, which killed 10 firefighters and destroyed thousands of documents belonging to banks suspected of making fraudulent maneuvers. Our correspondent Leo Poblete with more from Argentina.
Iron Mountain specialises in storing and managing the documentation of companies around the world. A fire in February 2014 at one of its facilities in Buenos Aires killed 10 firefighters and rescuers. Forensic experts of Argentina's federal police have announced that the fire was intentional.
The investigation should be widened to see if those documents the HSBC had stored, which was destroyed by the fire, or they could still be stored in another facility, contain something relevant from the point of view of evidence to advance this investigation.
At the time of the fire, the HSBC Bank was under scrutiny over accusation of economic crimes, such as the 4,000 hidden bank accounts belonging to Argentines in Switzerland to evade taxes. The entity lost 25,000 boxes of information, mostly labelled money laundering and premier money laundering, according to the head of the Economic Crime and Money Laundering Unit.
The investigation should expand to try to determine who was responsible for this terrible event, which claimed 10 victims. Today we have 10 families which have been destroyed. What's terrible is the fact that evidence now shows us that the event was intentional, and it would be even more terrible if it is confirmed that the objective of the fire was to conceal evidence of economic crimes.
The government of the city of Buenos Aires, led by right-wing mayor Mauricio Macri, is also under intense scrutiny over negligence in inspections of the Iron Mountain facility prior to the fatal blaze.
This place lacked a serious inspection. An inspector was sacked, as it appears in the records, who had said that the storage facility could not operate as it stood, and the Buenos Aires city government, far from following the sacked inspector's information, rewarded Iron Mountain and gave it special privilege, where it enjoyed tax exemptions.
The Financial Information Unit of Argentina will present documents before courts which will seek to support the hypothesis that behind the lethal blaze at Iron Mountain existed an agreement between the firm and its clients to destroy evidence. From Buenos Aires, Leo Politico Duty, Telesur.
And a team of French experts has joined an Argentine technicians to investigate Monday's helicopter crash that killed 10 people, including 3 French sport arts. Let's remember, 2 helicopters collided during the filming of the reality TV show called Trapped. The cause of the crash is not yet known. Mounting public pressure in Mexico over legislation that seeks to privatize the administration and distribution of water. Our correspondent Glenn Cohn has more.
In the streets of the Mexican capital, civil organizations and leftist party members protest the proposed general water law, which will privatize the administration and distribution of water. Some fear that the law will make the already scarce resource less available for working-class people.
There is very little water. In the morning around 3 a.m., the water flows. It is available. But at 7 a.m., there is not even a drop of water.
Although the ruling Revolutionary Institutional Party, or PRI, who proposed the bill, and its ally, the National Action Party, say the law will guarantee that water remains as national property, opposition leaders say the terminology is misleading and that the priority is not public well-being, but rather investments.
What today are subsidies for the consumers, for the families that consume potable water, that will be transformed into a resource that will be turned over big companies.
Civil society experts proposed a so-called citizens' water law in February, which prioritizes as its backbone the basic human right to access to water, as well as democratic and participatory practices over its administration. They say there are no gray areas in the PRI's proposal.
There are no grays or shades. We propose water for all, water for life, and the other side proposes water for profit.
Although the mounting public criticism has forced Congress to postpone the vote on the controversial bill, opponents warn that they will maintain their pressure so that the measure is not fast-tracked by the ruling coalition at a later date. Clayton Khan, Telesur, Mexico City.
And in Peru, human rights advocates say left-wing activists are being criminalized by the government using anti-terrorism laws. Our correspondent in Lima with more.
The Peruvian National Coordination for Human Rights reported that under the current government of Ollanta Humala, there have been 40 civilian deaths at protests, but no one has been prosecuted. In contrast, 32 activists have been arrested under terrorism charges in what human rights advocates call a systematic operation to criminalize protests critical of neoliberalism.
All of this is part of a psychosocial operation that tries to portray to the general population that people who protest are delinquents, disruptive people that are acting only in their own interest, and they act in coordination with drug traffickers and terrorists.
One of those arrested under charges of links with terrorism is a well-known leftist activist, Guillermo Bermejo, from the organization All Our Voices. Members of All Our Voices held a demonstration outside of the court where his case is being heard. Through the organization, Bermejo worked with farm workers attempting to decriminalize the cultivation of coca leaves and stopping the construction of a U.S. military base.
Our work is to serve farm workers, to guide them in their struggle, in their claims, and what they are needing, and basically political advising. Also legal advising, because we have a legal team that is in charge of protecting the leaders of the farm workers.
Bermejo was also active in labor rights movements and solidarity actions with Venezuela. Initially, he was arrested for 15 days for preliminary investigations. No evidence against him has been made public so far. He was supposed to be released on March 10th, but prosecutors have now requested preventive imprisonment for Bermejo for up to 12 months. Rael Mora, Telesur, Lima.
Ferguson City Council voted unanimously to accept the resignation of the superstar bureaucrat in the aftermath of a U.S. Justice Department report outlined systematic racism. City Manager John Shaw offered his resignation after a scathing report was released last week. Shaw was among several individuals heavily criticized. 3 other city employees have been fired since the report's release. The Justice Department investigation was called after a white police officer shot and killed an unarmed black teenager, Michael Brown. The incident touched off intense protests across the country.
And I do thank you, and many citizens of Ferguson thank you.
Others are still calling forward.
Students at the University of Oklahoma marched to show solidarity against racism. It comes after a video surfaced showing white fraternity members signing racist songs en route to a fraternity-linked event. The school's president said 2 students had been expelled for their role in the incident. The video, posted on Sunday, prompted the university to shut down the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity's house on campus. And just a few days away from marking 1,000 days in asylum in Ecuador's London embassy, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was granted an appeal hearing by Sweden's Supreme Court Tuesday. Assange's lawyer have been seeking to appeal sexual assault accusations against him, and which were used by Swedish authorities to issue an arrest warrant in absentia. Assange has said that the fears and any extradition to Sweden would see him hourly extradited to the U.S., where he could face a sentence similar to that given to Chelsea Manning. The decision, published in the Supreme Court's website, also ordered a new investigation to be carried out by Sweden's Attorney General. Nigerian and African Union troops seized 2 towns from the Boko Haram after fierce fighting Tuesday. A military source said the troops, including those from Chad and Niger, killed about 300 militants as they gained control of Malam Faturi and Damasak. The extremist group, which last week pledged allegiance to Islamic State, was killed thousands of people and displaced over 1.5 million during its 6-year campaign. All right, thank you. A jury in Los Angeles ruled against pop star Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke Tuesday, saying the per capita song by legendary soul singer Marvin Gaye, the 2013 track Blurred Lines, was found to have breached the copyright of Gaye's 1977 hit Got to Give It Up. Gaye's family, who was awarded nearly $7.4 million in damages for copyright infringement, spoke to the press after the unanimous jury.
Right now, I feel free from, honestly, free from Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke's chains and what they tried to keep on us, and the lies that were told, and the fact that we were able to break through anyway. And I'm really just happy. I'm so filled with emotion right now that it's hard to get the words out. But this was a miracle.
And Mexico's most famous artistic duo prepares to return to Detroit, this time posthumously through their art. On March the 15th, the Detroit Institute of Arts will open a new exhibit dedicated to the year that Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo spent in the city in 1932. The collection of paintings and drawings by the famed Mexican art couple will be open to people until summer and will also include the photographs and films. This is the first exhibition to focus on the brief but significant time spent in Detroit by the artists and revolutionaries. More on our website, telesurtv.net/English. Have a nice day.